Alright, it's Mr. Dale here again, and we're working again in database, and I've got my database open to tables, and I don't have any tables created, and I don't have any forms created. It's because I really need to know what data I want to put into my database. Well, I have that data here. Let's just take a look at it quickly. I need an employee ID. That would be my primary key. Last name, first name, retired. Retired, yes or no. Okay. A phone number, a date, and the time that we entered the data into our database. Well, a database really is not much good without a table. So the first thing that we should always do is develop our table. So I'll double click there. Always begin with your primary key. That way it is done. Okay, and we'll change it to integer. We'll come back down here and yes, and we're done with that one. Okay, then we'll add our last name field. Leave it at text varchar, first name, and let's see what else we needed to add. Retired, yes or no? Retired, yes or no? And if I click on here, I have an option for yes, no boolean. So I'll put that in there. What was the other things that we needed? Phone number, date, and time. Let's put that in there. Phone number. Now, today we had some problems when we used integer, and here's the reason why. If I click on integer, I am really limited to 10 values, which isn't really enough. So whenever we work with any number, let's use the number option. Okay, so click on number, not on integer. It's up here, I'm sorry. Number, okay? And then dates. And if I click here, I have an option for date and time. And I also have an option for time. Right? So we've built our table. We've got our employee ID. That will be our primary key. I know I have a primary key. There it is there. And I've got date, time, everything checked correctly. The only thing I want to do now is I want to change these to require entry. I'm going to change all of them so that they are needed. Yes, we need all of this information in our data sheet, data bank. Entry required, yes. Date, entry required, yes. And time entry is also required. Alright, I've got my table done. I'll save it. And I will save it TBL employee data. Okay? And close it. Yes. Okay. Let's just take a look at that table and see how it looks in edit mode. So I can enter my last name, my first name, retired, yes or no. So I can check it yes or check it no. Okay. So it can either be yes or no there. Phone number, date, and time. Right. So I could easily enter my data into my table exactly the way it is, but it's a little bit nicer and a little bit easier to enter our data into a form. Let's go down here and create our form. Again, we'll use Wizard to create the form, so I'm going to double click on Wizard. And it's going to ask me what fields I want to put into my form. Well, I could select individually and put them over, but I want all of them into my form, so I'm just going to click on this double arrow, and that will put all of my fields into my form. And I'll click Next. We're not doing a subform. I'll click Next. But I do want this format. So you make sure you click on this format. Click Next. We do want data to be allowed to enter, so we'll click Next again. You can choose the color you want. I kind of like this violet theme. I'll click Next. And our last option is to save, and we're going to change it to form employee data. So we can distinguish it between that and the table, and we'll click finish. And there's our form. Okay, but if I try and click on the design mode button, I can't. That's because I need to close it first, go back to the form, right click on it, and open it in edit mode. Here we are, and we can edit the information that's in there. Let's just make this a little bit bigger and we can see more of it. Alright, we won't do anything in the employee ID. We won't do anything in the last name. Okay, but I want to take a look at this date field. Okay, so if I hold my command key and click on the box, then I right click on the box, here I get these controls. Okay, so I'll click on control, and I'm going to click on the general tab. Let's get a look at this. Remember, we're looking at the date field. Well, there's a lot I can manipulate here. Alright, we can set the minimum date that is allowed to enter, the maximum, and here's a really important one, the date format. Alright, I want the format to be day, month, and year. So I'm going to change my format to that. Then it says here spin button. Let me show you what a spin button is. Let's check the yes box. And as you can see, we've got these two little buttons that appear. That will allow the user of the form to manually use these buttons to change the date. So that's kind of a handy thing to have. We'll leave that. Right? So we've changed the format of the date field, and we've also added this little spin button. So I think we're done with that one. Let's take a look at the time field. Again, I'll hold command, click on it, right click, and I'll go to my control box. We've got lots of options here as well. You could have the minimum time, maximum time, and here's an important one, time format. I like that format, so I'll leave it. But I'll put a spin button on this guy as well. Alright, well that looks like pretty good. But it kind of looks too small. So I might make this field just a little bit bigger. And I might make this field a little bit bigger as well. So I'm going to hold command, click on the field, and I'll drag it a little bit bigger as well. Phone number box looks definitely too small. I will click on that with my command button, and I'll make it bigger as well. Alright, everything else looks pretty good. I've manipulated everything the way I want it to look. So I'm going to click on save, save my form, close my form, and let's just look at it the way it is. Okay, phone number, date, so I can put today's date, which will be 19, 11th month, year 14. Let's look at how these spin buttons work. Okay, if I change it, I can change the date with my spin button, but also notice how it added these little dashes. In OpenOffice, it doesn't use the slash that I use, it uses these little dashes. Okay, still the same format, just different structure. Okay, these little spin buttons can help me change it, and I can put my cursor there, go up or down, put my cursor there. Okay, change the date. Time as well. Today could be 2:45. Okay, I can use my spin button to change it a little bit as well. Okay, so there's a lot we can do within the form. Retired? Well, I'm not retired, but let's have a look. Maybe I am retired, and I can click yes. Alright. So last name Dale, Daniel. Phone number would be. I'll just invent something. 123. Okay. 289 and 6789. Alright. Once I've got the data entered into my form, I'm going to need to um, move it to the next field or the next data entry. So I use these little buttons here, and I push next, and I can put my next employee in there, okay? So that's about all that we need to cover for today, and let's try and get as much work done today as possible. Okay, thank you.